of Management Studies, IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course Mmpc 017 Advanced Strategic Management for MBA program. Presenting Block 4 Strategic Enablers, Unit 11 Knowledge Management, Part 1.
Knowledge Management KM. Objectives. After reading this unit, you should be able to explain the concept of Knowledge Management KM, acquaint yourself with the sources and types of knowledge, provide a framework for developing KM systems, and discuss the benefits and challenges of implementing KM. Introduction. Present days organizations, large or small, gather vast amount of knowledge during the course of their regular operations. This knowledge remains in the minds of organizational members conducting the operations, be it research, design, development, manufacturing, or services. This wealth of organizational knowledge, generally referred to as knowledge assets, knowledge capital, intellectual capital, etc., disappears when these persons leave the organization. The effects of losing organizational knowledge is especially noticeable and can have far-reaching implications when people occupying important positions such as Chief of Designs or Chief of Marketing leave, since all the knowledge they gathered over long years of experience is lost permanently to the organization along with them. A significant amount of time must be invested in relearning and reinventing the work processes. Most organizations do have some manual system of compiling knowledge to create a corporate memory, but they have not been effective mainly due to difficulties in careful organization and accessing of the compiled knowledge. Computers have not played a significant role in this area till recently, having mainly concentrated in the data processing field, obviously due to the faster payback period for the money invested. However, things are changing and this field is receiving due attention from developers and organizations. Knowledge and knowledge management. According to Peter F. Drucker in The New Realities, knowledge is information that changes something or somebody, either by becoming grounds for actions or by making an individual or an institution capable of different or more effective action. Knowledge is viewed as a collection of facts, ideas, leanings, and policies, practices, and a lot more. Knowledge can also be defined more narrowly as agreed upon explicit or formal facts, rules, policies, and procedures, whereas skills are seen as information processing competencies that can generate explicit knowledge. Skills are learned by doing, knowledge is learned by studying or investigating. Knowledge can be classified as tacit, knowledge that is personal, that is knowledge that cannot be expressed and communicated, and explicit knowledge that can be codified and expressed in a human or formal language. Although the terms information and knowledge are often used interchangeably, there is a clear distinction between information and knowledge. Information is a flow of messages, while knowledge is created by that very flow of information and is anchored in the beliefs and commitment of its holder. Traditional management models focus on how to control the information flow and information processing within the organization. This view, however, fails to capture the essence of organization as knowledge-creating entity. What knowledge management should achieve is not a static management of information or existing knowledge, but a dynamic management of the process of creating knowledge out of knowledge. Hence, one can argue that organizational knowledge creation is a continuous self-transcending process which requires a new kind of management that goes beyond the traditional models of management. Knowledge management is such a preposterous, pretentious, and profoundly confusing phrase that many of those who really understand KM, including some of the field's pioneers, refuse to use the term. If there is anything that those experts do agree on, it is that knowledge management is not about managing people in any traditional sense. Nor is knowledge management really about managing knowledge. They prefer terms such as knowledge sharing, information systems, organizational learning, intellectual asset management, performance enhancement, etc. Knowledge management refers to strategies and structures for maximizing the return on intellectual and information resources. Because intellectual capital resides both in tacit form, human education, experience, and expertise, and explicit form, documents and data. KM depends on both cultural and technological processes of creation, collection, sharing, recombination, and reuse. The goal is to create new value by improving the efficiency and effectiveness of individual and collaborative knowledge work while increasing innovation and sharpening decision making. KM is the collection of processes that govern the creation, dissemination, and utilization of knowledge. In one form or another, knowledge management has been around for a very long time. Practitioners have included philosophers, priests, teachers, politicians, scribes, librarians, etc. The importance of knowledge as a key source of competitive advantage is now well established in management studies. Knowledge is undoubtedly an indispensable resource to create value for the next generation of society, industries, and companies. Yet, despite all the discussions and attentions in both the academic and business worlds, very few have articulated how organizations actually create and manage knowledge. Many companies still seem to remain locked in the phase of building efficient and effective information technology IT systems when they try to manage knowledge. Ultimately, knowledge management is really just a way of looking at the world of business. It's a realization that who and what are assets of the organization. And just like building, operating, and managing physical assets, knowledge assets needs to be managed for the greatest possible return on investment. Knowledge management KM. It is a management technique to effectively manage knowledge in organization. It comprises of construction, compilation, collection, collation of knowledge generated within the organization and from external sources into a knowledge repository KR. Organize the knowledge so constructed in the organization in such a way that it is easily accessible to all those in the organization who needs it on time. A management system that maintains the KR up to date and relevant. A set of tools including computer systems that facilitates ease of accessing the KR as well as building and maintaining it. A few facts of knowledge management. KM is not useless. The entire idea sits in the fact that it's not a long-term strategy to maintain the existing knowledge of the person or organization and also to harvest the new knowledge which a person acquires during his process of learning. Debating what knowledge management is not is pointless. People intuitively know whether they are managing their own knowledge well and whether their organization helps them to work without stress and inefficiency. People and technology. People should not have to choose between knowing a little about a lot or about a little. They should be able to concentrate most on what they need to know most and when needed, find out a lot about related things. This requires a browseable knowledge environment designed the way people think. People want to solve problems, think, and collaborate. They do not want to use technology. Technology is a mean, not an end. Technology must serve people, not the other way round. Technology creates knowledge management problems faster than it creates knowledge management solutions. If knowledge management were intuitive, organization would have perfected it by now. Financial factor. The cost of not managing knowledge greatly exceeds the cost of managing important knowledge. Organizations have the habit of externalizing the cost of not managing the knowledge to their customers. Future trends. Those who want to think and act in integrated, creative ways and solve complex problems need rich, integrated, up-to-date knowledge management environments to support them. The gulf between traditional and knowledge-driven organizations is growing as knowledge-driven organizations concentrate not only on present success but their own evolution so they can better take advantage of the new knowledge-intense environment. The paradoxical image. Call it the knowledge management paradox. Those who are so busy putting out fires that they have no time to tackle knowledge management are those who most need to manage their knowledge better. While many CEOs put KM as the top priority, few companies are still at the stage of implementation. It's the mind shift of the organizational heads to add knowledge to the balance sheet. What we know now is that those companies that crack strategic knowledge management will be those most likely to succeed in the new economy. The new economy is always termed as the knowledge economy. Hence, a company with higher knowledge quotient makes it big. Sources of knowledge. The two sources of knowledge are internal sources. Internal sources emerging from the operations of the organization. Internal sources include the organizational operations such as design, development, engineering, sales, marketing, manufacturing, customer contact, etc. This is the basic source of organizational information which is controllable and can be easily canalized to KR. In the absence of any formal mechanism, this knowledge remains in the minds of organization members and usually disappears with them. External source. They are external sources such as industry or professional associations, commercial websites, etc. There are many professional bodies such as IEEE, academic bodies such as universities, research institutions, industry associations such as NEMA, and commercial organizations. These sources usually make the knowledge available through websites and sometimes through publications. Some of them could be free services and some could be for a fee. A well-designed KM should be able to take advantage of both the sources to create and maintain a KR and allow members to easily access the knowledge stored inside it. Types of knowledge. There are two kinds of knowledge: explicit knowledge and tacit knowledge. Explicit knowledge can be expressed in words and numbers and shared in the form of data, scientific formula, specifications, manuals, and the like. This kind of knowledge can be readily transmitted across individuals formally and systematically. Tacit knowledge, on the other hand, is highly personal and hard to formalize, making it difficult to communicate or share with others. Subjective insights, intuitions, and hunches fall into this category of knowledge. Difficult to verbalize, such as tacit knowledge, is deeply rooted in an individual's actions and experience, as well as in the ideals, values, or emotions he or she embraces. These two types of knowledges are complementary to each other and both are crucial to knowledge creation. They interact with and change into each other in the creative activities of human beings. Understanding this reciprocal relationship between explicit knowledge and tacit knowledge is the key to understanding the knowledge creating process. The interaction between the two types of knowledge can also be called as the knowledge conversion. Knowledge is created through such interactions among individuals with different types and contents of knowledge. Knowledge creation in organizations takes place primarily through the dynamic process of 4 different modes of conversion between the two dimensions of knowledge. Socialization. Tacit knowledge to conversion takes place when tacit knowledge within one individual is shared by another through training. Combination. Explicit knowledge to explicit knowledge conversion takes place when an individual combines discrete pieces of explicit knowledge into a whole new concept. Externalization. Tacit knowledge to explicit knowledge conversion can be said to take place when an individual is able to articulate the foundations of his and her tacit knowledge. Internalization. Explicit knowledge to tacit knowledge conversion takes place when new explicit knowledge is shared throughout the firm and other members begin to use it to broaden, extend, and reframe their own tacit knowledge. Knowledge creation. Most, if not all, firms in developing countries are engrossed in activities to catch up with advanced countries. Even the majority of firms in advanced countries are engaged in catching up, as not all firms can be pioneers of novel breakthroughs even in these countries. Nonetheless, research on organizational knowledge creation and innovation is concentrated mainly in advanced countries and is focused mostly on the pioneering process. Research on those subjects in the catching up process, particularly in developing countries, is however scanty. Knowledge creation, whether for imitation or innovation, takes place at two levels, individual and organization. The prime actors in the process of knowledge creation are individuals within the organization. Knowledge creation in organization is not, however, the simple sum of knowledge creation by individuals. Rather, it is the process that creates knowledge which is distributed across the organization, is communicated among its members, has consensual validity, and is integrated into the strategy and management of the organization. Individual knowledge creation is therefore an indispensable condition for knowledge creation in the organization, but cannot be the sufficient one. Organizations create knowledge only when individual insights and skills become embodied in organization routines, practices, and beliefs. Only effective organizations can translate individual knowledge creation into organizational knowledge creation. Knowledge creation is a function of an organization's absorptive capacity, requires a learning capability, and develops problem-solving skills. Learning capability involves the development of capacity to assimilate existing knowledge for imitation, while problem-solving skills represent a capacity to create new knowledge for innovation. Absorptive capacity has two different elements: prior knowledge base and intensity of efforts. First, the prior knowledge base refers to existing individual units of knowledge available within the organization. Accumulated prior knowledge increases the ability both to make sense of and to assimilate and use new knowledge. Relevant prior knowledge base includes basic skills and general knowledge in the case of developing countries, but it includes the most recent scientific and technological knowledge in the case of industrially advanced countries. Thus, prior knowledge base should be assessed in its relation to the task difficulty involved. Second, the intensity of effort refers to the amount of energy expended by organizational members to solve problems. Learning how to solve problems is usually built up over many practices trials involving related problems. Such efforts intensifies interaction among organizational members that facilitates knowledge conversion and creation at the organizational level. Knowledge Management Framework. All mid-sized and bigger organizations needs to look at KM seriously. It is not just a fad anymore, nor a far-off concept. It is real and here and is now available. It is of strategic importance and we cannot afford to postpone it any longer except at the cost of survival. Each industry has its own KM system evolved to suit its needs. Though the entire process starts with a bang, but somewhere down the line, the entire process stands still. Level 1. Creation of a strategy for KMS. This level involves a process where the best practices of the organization are listed and accumulated. A strategy is evolved for accumulation of entire gamut of the organizational and personal knowledge. Identify organizational needs or objectives in line with the system's needs or objectives. Establish policies which are to be adhered to. Instead of putting the entire process to be unpredictable, we create a process which makes the organization run on a particular schedule. Performance of the system is gauged by the capability of the individuals and the organization collectively with their innate skills, knowledge, and motivations. Policies for managing the system, implementation procedures are established. An effective process can be characterized as practiced, documented, enforced, trained, measured, and able to improve. Level 2, Technical Infrastructure and Knowledge Resources. This level would involve the design of repository, collaboration, dissemination, and hardware specifications. Technology requirements as in capture, store, search, retrieve, message, structure, navigate, share, collaborate, synthesize, solve, recommend, integrate are maintained in detail in the process and functionality scope of the system. The output of one process would or may overflow as the input of another process. Hence, knowledge need not necessarily be sequential. After knowledge is acquired, synthesized, or created, it needs to be codified, accessed, and transferred again. The knowledge cycle is supported by collaboration. Functional scope would include the technology comprising of KM. Semantic functionality utilizes technologies such as clustering, categorization, linguistics analysis, data extraction, and knowledge maps. It would also include functionality filters, identification of experts, and alignment of users into communities, which is net groups, threaded conversations, and network directories. Visualization addresses navigation and retrieval. Scale addresses the range of data types and physical locations available to KM users. Technology requirement scope lists technologies that collectively comprise full function KM. Not every enterprise needs all functions, and no KM vendor or tool fulfill all of these requirements. The selection of technologies is preceded by the clear definition of KM strategy and scope. KM deals with enterprise-wide structure or unstructured data source, representing multiple data types and formats. KM must bridge knowledge resources to be accumulated as in the process of existing knowledge, knowledge sharing, knowledge discovery, identification of intellectual assets of the personnel of the organization, and implementation of KM framework. The level 2 of the system should allow us to summarize the planning and tracking of the entire process. The process is under the control of the knowledge office, and each knowledge worker has the right to make the necessary contribution to the system. Level 3, Grouping of knowledge. This level would involve the proper grouping of all the knowledge accumulated during level 2. Knowledge can be classified in the following groups: individual group, project, corporate. Individual knowledge. Acquisition of knowledge would involve the following: search, filter, integrate, capture, store, validate, and personalize the entire process. It would also let the user learn, analyze, interpret, comment, evaluate, explore, and classify the intellectual asset of the person. Group project knowledge. Individualistic knowledge to be integrated with the group. What counts here are the integration, management, and recording capability of the group knowledge. Each individual should be competent enough to know what is happening in his or her group. Corporate knowledge. This would cover the knowledge of the organization, policies, practices, market trends, industry trends, and the like, integration of external sources in the knowledge base. Monitor, comment, and synchronize the entire process of the organizational knowledge. At the end of this level, all these three groups are to be in sync with each other. Attention should also to be given to peer groups, intergroup coordination, intergroup coordination, training program, organization process, and organization process focus. This level should also ensure that the process is based on a common organization-wide understanding of the activities, roles, and responsibilities in a defined process. Level 4, Delivery of knowledge. The level would start with the strategy of identifying audience for all the resources accumulated. Personalization of the knowledge acquired would be done here. Audience identified would have to be summarized and the entire visual to be presented to them for proper usage to establish a common bond and provide seamless access. Level 5, Corporate and Individual Performances. This level would require the knowledge office to measure the performances of the corporate and the individual performances after effective dissemination of knowledge through the KMS. The information which has been gathered has to be used effectively for better performance of the organization and the individual. An effective KM should have the following feature: acquisition, creation, packaging, or application of internal and external knowledge as a primary objective of the work. The inputs and the outputs will have high levels of variability and to a certain extent some degree of uncertainty, equivocally, and incompleteness. The process of knowledge work tends to be variable and difficult to analyze as a set of procedures or steps. Characterized by exception rather than routine, it is performed by professional or technical workers with a high level of skill and expertise. Knowledge and work process include such activities. Any KM project should essentially have the following four components. Create KR, Knowledge Repository. Involves finding and collecting internal knowledge and best practices. Some of the knowledge may be found in organizational documents such as memos, reports, and presentations and can be easily stored in a repository. Other knowledge is discovered through discussions. Discussion databases are another form of knowledge repository. Tools like Lotus Notes and Microsoft Exchange Server facilitate these discussion databases. Improve knowledge access involves determining ways to facilitate finding the person and with the required knowledge and then transferring the knowledge to another person. Sometimes simply storing the knowledge in a repository is not sufficient. Face-to-face transfer of knowledge can be more effective. Technologies such as desktop video conferencing can enable face-to-face knowledge access. Enhance knowledge environment. It involves changing the way people work. Employees are encouraged to share knowledge as well as reuse existing knowledge. Coaching and training in learning and sharing practices will probably be necessary. This may be a very difficult task if the organization's culture does not currently share information. Manage knowledge as an asset. Involves demonstrating that effectively using the knowledge management repositories or face-to-face transfer of knowledge has allowed the organization to save or make money. This is currently difficult but will probably become more accepted as knowledge management becomes more widely used. Benefits of knowledge management. Some of the tangible benefits of knowledge management are directly related to their bottom line savings. In today's information-driven economy, companies continuously tap most of the opportunities and ultimately derive most value from intellectual rather than physical assets. According to many experts, to get the most value from a company's intellectual assets, knowledge must be shared and served as the foundation for collaboration. Consequently, an effective KM program should help a company leverage the assets and provide the following benefits. Fostering innovation by encouraging free flow of ideas. Improving customer service by streamlining response time. Boosting revenues by getting products and services to market faster. Enhancing employee retention rates by recognizing the value of employees' knowledge and rewarding them for it. Streamlining operations and reducing costs by eliminating redundant or unnecessary processes. A creative approach to KM can result in improved efficiency, higher productivity, and increased revenues in practically any business function. Knowledge management's KM role is to connect knowledge owners with knowledge seekers. The knowledge of one is transferred to the mind of the other so that a new decision can be made or situation can be handled. KM provides a means to capture and store passing knowledge and broker it to the appropriate individual. Examples where knowledge management can offer greatest benefit. KM is beneficial especially in both social and business segments. Here are two few examples where KM could provide great benefits. Social, governmental. First, coping with natural disaster. Second, safety in aviation or railways. Third, research and education. Now in business, first, research and development, faster solutions and reduction of redundant research. Second, design and development. By allowing easier access to past design documents, best practices and better designs become available. Faster, making faster deliveries, gaining a competitive edge for the organization. Third, operations. Problems reported from the field greatly aid in improving manufacturing practices and adds to product quality. Fourth, cultural change. From striving to create and own ideas and objects to sharing, improving, and reusing, in addition to create new ideas and objects.
You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code Mmpc 016 International Business Management. Course Coordinator Professor G. Subayama. Voiceover by Chitra. Edited by Savita. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan and Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.